Cord connecting. Okay. All right. Welcome. I'm calling to order this meeting of the Cable Advisory Committee at 10:01 a.m. on September 10th. It's the 10th. Welcome, everybody. It's been a while. Present are Deb McGee, clerk, Jennifer Wertkin, member, Tom Cole, vice chair, and Mia Baumgarten, chair. And the first order of business, we're going to take the agenda a little out of order because we are awaiting Maria Broadbent, our new town administrator. We're waiting for her to join us. So the first thing we're going to do is take a vote on our town meeting article, the one that pertains to us, which is Article 21 in the warrant. And I sent everybody a copy of it last night. Hopefully you all got a chance to look at it. It's very quick. It is the standard, say again? I heard a cat. Yeah.
Oh.
It's the standard article that we have every year. It's just the funding. It's the appropriation of the funding from the Comcast receipts to be used for the purpose of public access TV, which is what we do. So I'm not sure I should read it aloud. I think you guys.
It's the standard. They've been doing this one every year now for a while. So it's just a repeat of the same thing. And
So I'll just, yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
I'll read it real quick and then we'll take a vote just to have it on the record. So Article 21, transfer to LCCA TV fund to see if the town will vote to transfer from the cable receipts fund the sum of $157,016 to fund local television access programming for the operation of the two local access television channels, 99 and 22, or do or act anything thereon. It has already been recommended 5-0 by the select board and 8-0 by the FinCom. Can I have a motion?
I move to approve this warrant article, to recommend this warrant article.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Tom seconds. All right. Jen moved. Tom seconds. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
That's 4-0-0. Thank you, everybody. And then the next thing that we were going to do, I'm not totally sure if we are obligated to reorganize the board, but I think we are since we haven't met since last November. I know. So it's so nice to see everybody. So I think just to be on the safe side, we should vote again on our positions, which are chair, vice chair, and clerk. So if she's all right with it, I renominate Deb McGee for the position of clerk because she does such a good job. Is there a second?
Second.
Jennifer seconds. All in favor?
All right.
Congratulations, Deb. 4-0-0. You are the clerk. And again, I would like to renominate Tom Cole for the position of vice chair if he's willing to take on that responsibility again.
Sure.
Second.
Okay, Jen seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 4-0-0. Tom is the vice chair.
I'd like to renominate Mia Baumgarten as the chair if she would like to have this position again. I think she's been doing a wonderful job.
I would be happy to continue doing it. Is there a second?
Second.
I'll second. Yeah.
Thank you. I think Deb seconded. So Jen moved, Deb second. All in favor?
Aye.
4-0-0. Thank you, guys. I think we're a very solid board, and we've all been doing a good job in our positions. So it's good to have everybody back again. Thank you. What's the next thing that we were going to do?
Your minutes, you're on there.
Minutes.
Your next
Thank
item.
you. That's right. Minutes. So Deb's minutes, as always, are spectacular, but we actually haven't approved these, even though they were from November 2019. Are there any comments, corrections, anything? I thought that they were perfect. She did a really good job. I didn't see anything that needed adjusting. Anybody?
I'll move the minutes.
Okay, second. I will second the minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, 4-0-0. The minutes are approved. Thank you again, Deb.
You're welcome. I have one ear there and one eye on my computer, so it's okay. Okay, so Mia,
I think perhaps Maria is not going to be able to make it. We'll hang out for another couple minutes and see if she can. Ah, there she is. Perfect. All right, we'll give her a second to connect. Hello, Maria.
Hi, good morning. Sorry I'm a little
Hi.
late.
Oh, that's okay. It was actually perfect timing. We literally just said your name. And we did all of our other business.
That's all it took, I guess.
So welcome. Thank you for joining
Morning.
this meeting of the Cable Advisory Committee.
Yeah, happy to. I get things put on my calendar and I'm not exactly sure what they are, so I'd love to know what the Cable Advisory Committee is and what you do.
Okay, well let's introduce ourselves real quick. I'm Mia Baum. We've just reorganized our board, so we officially have our positions. I'm Mia Baumgarten, Chair. Deb McGee is in the corner on my screen. She's our clerk. Jennifer Wordkin, Member at Large and Library Director. Tom Cole, Vice Chair. Tom Cole was the Chair of the Cable Advisory Committee for quite a long time until a couple of years ago. And yeah, and so our role is to advise the town on the practices of the public access channel and on anything that has to do with the Comcast license negotiations and our relationship with Comcast.
Is it a requirement somehow? Just curious.
Well, every town has a cable advisory committee. It's an advisory board, not a regulatory board. So the most we can do, as I understand it, is to give our advice, and we've given it to the select board a few times in the past couple of years. But yeah, we're just here to be an informational resource, basically.
So looks like you're sitting in a studio. Where is that located?
I'm in the back of the library. This is
Okay.
where this is our public access channel room. That's our server rack. That's the stream that's taking us out to channel 18. And
Okay.
this is what's running on channel 18 right now. And this is my chair. And I'm in there's a back door to the library and the employee parking lot, and that's how you get in here.
Gotcha. So you have a secret access door too. Good for you.
I do. So I was in here late last night broadcasting. This is my secret cubicle. And it even has a window. It's very nice in here.
Nice.
So,
Nice.
yes, that's where I am. And we are happy that you're joining us, and we were hoping that we could provide you answers to any questions that you have as you're engaged in a Comcast negotiation. So the way it's worked historically is that the TA and the town council are the only ones who are actually in the negotiations. And we did a survey last year where we collected some data from the residents about what they wanted to see from Comcast. I'd be happy to send you the information. It's pretty much what you'd think. People want more coverage. They would like cheaper service. They would like it to not be a monopoly, that kind of
Yeah,
thing.
it would be great if you sent me that. And, you know, and I have to say that even as I was doing research before I was applying for this position, that the concerns about access were coming up from, you know, a number of people that I met with as, you know, I mean, I'm old enough to not have had cable in my life, you know, and when you get used to having those things, you know, they become a utility. And so the way I look at it is we have people that don't have access to a public utility.
Right.
You know, you pay for it. And then, you know, Jennifer and I just in, you know, little conversations when I was interviewing, that somehow some of the burden of that falls on the library, and the librarian doesn't exactly make sense to me, but I'm sure there's a history there. I mean, I see it honestly as a utility or economic development issue, to be honest with you. You know, there are a lot of people that could work from home or do things from home, even take payments for things and services working from home that they cannot do if they don't have access to the cable and the internet. So love to hear, you know, where you think that's going. And, you know, I share the burden of trying to figure this out.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right, and you said it perfectly. It really is becoming a human right the way food, shelter, and water are, as we depend, especially now, especially in 2020, on the internet to do our work and to send our kids to school and to pay bills and all of that. And it's really upsetting that some people in Wellfleet, which is a pretty affluent and pretty secure town in this day and age, don't have access to that. And it's, people say cable, what they really mean these days are internet and TV bundled together. The idea of not being able to access cable internet is really a struggle for a lot of people. And it does fall on Jennifer at the library, because in the winter, this is the only warm inside place you can go to use the computer or use the Wi-Fi. And
do all of you have any idea how many residential properties do not have access?
we don't. We sort of know the area of land in which there is no access, which I think I copied you on an email I sent to the select board about this. It's pretty much everything north of, well, it's a lot of stuff north of town once you start going, I'm sorry, not north. When you go towards Truro and that line after Pammit Hill Road,
Okay.
Pammit Road, between there and Truro, and the further back you go towards like Boundbrook Island, towards the bay, there's just no service to speak of back there. So that's the biggest part of town where there's no internet access. And then Lieutenant Island also doesn't have it, but I think that has to do with property rights and not so the reason there isn't any access up in that part.
Easements.
Yeah, exactly. Rights of a certain property that doesn't want the lines run across. I think that's my understanding.
Okay.
And in the other part towards Truro, it's just that there aren't enough homes back there to make it profitable for Comcast to run service. So
Right.
it's sort of like
It's a density issue for
it's
them.
the density issue. But is that changing in 2020? Now that people are fleeing the cities and moving to their second homes or moving, just out.
Well,
We don't know
I think the density is not how many people are actually there, but how many properties.
how many properties. Yeah. Yeah. So there may not be a whole lot that we can do. And one of the, the library has really
build more houses.
attached it. Yeah, exactly. But the library has done things like offer hotspots as well as offer the physical location if people can come here and sit in the parking lot and use the Wi-Fi. So yeah, we're really a data collecting board, and we're happy
Is the
to.
use of a hotspot going to help someone if they don't have?
Not if Wi-Fi service isn't available.
Yeah, it's got. I mean, the
can help
actual
some people.
wire has to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are people who it has helped, who have been surprised, but there are people who are completely not helped by anything, and the only thing that will help them is Comcast broadband cable. That is it.
Right. Like an actual wire coming to their property.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah. So if you have a hotspot, if the wire isn't coming to your house, the
Right.
hotspot isn't gonna.
Because it's coming off a cell tower, and that's iffy out here. So
So it's okay. So listen, you'll find out that everyone has their strengths, and all of electronic stuff is not mine.
right.
So,
Right.
So the hotspot is something that gives them access, but via cell signal.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
So if the cell signal's there, it's been a real lifeline for some people. And if it's not, there's not that much we can do. Then they end up sitting in the parking lot somewhere trying to use the Wi-Fi there.
Mm.
And Tom, Tom is our institutional memory, and we're very glad to have Tom because he's the only one who's been around for not one, but 2 rounds of Comcast negotiation, I think, in 2000 and 2010. Tom, is that right?
2010 particularly, and that was a real fight, and we really put up a big fight in order to get what we got. So that was the first time really that Comcast was reducing its public access services to the point to where they were requiring each town to do their own, or to do their own contract for it, which was with Comcast. So they started us at a very low rate. I think it was like 2 to 3% of gross revenues. And we fought it. In fact, we denied a license to them and kind of went to war with them, so to speak, wouldn't give them a license. And we had our other towns that were joining us, the other 4 towns that were part of our region, got behind us. So it was a big effort, and we did get then the full 5% practically, 4.75% is, and you're required to negotiate up to 5%. So we did get
5%,
quite a good boost on that. What's that?
5% of what?
Gross annual revenues, or gross revenues, essentially Comcast gross revenues. So,
Okay, coming to the town for use of public access.
right,
Got it.
right. Not just us though, for
Like that
public
really-
access station, for the educational access station, and for our station, Channel
Okay.
18.
So, yeah, pretty tough negotiators. At least they grandstand that way.
Yeah.
Haven't sat in 2 of those meetings in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pressure is always great. It's the only thing that really worked the last time. And it really depends on how much you're willing to do it. And it can be a real battle. We had an attorney that was good at that kind of stuff, and he guided us through it, but it was pretty tough stuff. Current attorneys are not interested in it. So, or they would like it, but they're not pushing that hard for it, as I understand it anyway. So,
Oh, that's not been my observation.
oh, okay.
Good.
Not at all.
I haven't been part of it
The
that much. So.
attorney that was on those 2, everything's Zoom right now. The attorney that's representing the towns, because there's, 4 or 5 of us, was probably a little bit more hardcore than I would have liked, to be honest with you. And maybe
Did
that's
we get-
just because I'm a little bit more diplomatic than this guy, but
Yeah.
we seem to be making some headway with them. It goes from Brewster, out to Truro. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's what we found. It was required. They really don't want to give you any of this if they can get away with it. They're required to give up to a certain amount, but so we ended up having to really fight for it. And
yeah.
I'm glad there's some aggression on it on our attorney's part, because that's what it takes to get stuff done. It's not a reasonable group we're working against. So
No, not at all. And again, from still a little bit of a I'm on week 4 or something here, week 5.
They really just threw you in.
But yeah, they just threw me in. They just zoomed right in. So I've been staying back and forth with a friend in Shrewsbury, and my observation in Shrewsbury is that their cable company is part of the town. Yeah, so it is not necessarily, there's a little distinction between a nonprofit and a not-for-profit. So theirs is a not-for-profit, it's a municipal utility, just like their power company is.
Yeah.
And absent that, Comcast is not in this for the flag. They're not doing this for the good of humanity. So having a stronger presence in the negotiations appears to be working. I mean, I don't want to go into great details about where we are, but the density issues are a big part of the discussion. How much money gets fed back to the municipalities, for the work that all of you do, is a big part of the negotiations too. But we appear to be making some headway on the density issue. But the trouble is, we're, the number of households that end up with access to service doesn't increase all that much, to be honest with you. How many it'll pan out to be here, I'm not sure how many it'll actually be. So that's a hard issue. So tell me a little bit about what your group does. I know you had some things that you wanted to tell me, and I've interrupted you a couple of times.
Well, there's 2 groups in general. One is the Public Access Corporation, and the other is our town government channel. And the Public Access Group, which includes the schools education group, gets a certain percentage of that. It's roughly a little over 50% no, it's a little under 50% for public access and educational access together. And of course, that's 5 towns meant, doing that. So a little over 50%, at least at the current rate, is for the town channel operations.
Okay.
So, but we're sort of basically the negotiating unit for public access. They can't do it. They're not really a direct party to this. It's really town. So we're working on their behalf, and it's always been that way for what we did last time. It was kind of like a group effort. And so I'm not quite sure where you're at with Comcast. I don't know what kind of percentage you're knocking around for gross annual revenues. Do you have anything on that at this point? Or?
Not specifically at this point. I think we're probably a week or two away from getting something a little bit more free flowing to be able to discuss what they're negotiating at this point. At this point, it's still kind of being handled by the attorneys, so I'm reluctant to disclose what they're negotiating for fear that it might affect the negotiations, to be perfectly honest with you. But I think we're a week or two away from.
Yeah.
So discussions yesterday included what the towns wanted to see through the attorney, and that has to go back from Mike Gala, who's the person
Comcast guy,
negotiating from the Comcast side, who has to go back to his chain of command to see if they are comfortable with whatever we discussed. So we're having this discussion a couple of weeks earlier than probably anything that I can give you any really great information. And I'm new to this, but I know that the density issues and the percentage, and then also the time frame for the conversion to HD is part of the discussion also. And I'm assuming that means you're being able to broadcast in HD. You probably
Correct.
know more than I do.
Yeah. Correct.
So that time frame is part of the discussion also.
Can I ask, do you feel like all of the towns that we're negotiating alongside are all pretty aligned? Do you feel like we're a uniform block, or is there division?
Well, there are 2 of the towns that have, well, maybe 3. Wellfleet and Truro definitely have the density issues.
Yeah.
Being as rural as we are. Eastham has some too.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's a direct concern for at least the 3 of us. But also included in that group are Orleans and Brewster. And the gentleman from Brewster has been really great at, because their density issues they don't have a problem with access like we do.
Right.
Has been really good at telling the folks from Comcast that they really have an interest in making sure that we're made whole. So having, he's a real gentleman. And
Great.
so I think it's been worth having those bigger towns on there to advocate for us also. So although there are individual contracts from what I understand, they'll all mirror each other. Definitely better to be going through this as a group than to be handling it alone, for sure.
Yeah, I feel like that's the only way we really get any leverage is if we negotiate as a more or less unified voice. And I think that most of us on the Outer Cape are dealing with this influx of people who need internet, and maybe we're coming at it from different levels of people who already have it. But in general, this is unprecedented. So
I mean, when you went through this before, and Tom, you were saying that we, we're gonna not license them. Did that actually happen?
Yes, actually, Wellfleet was the lead on that, and just because our contract was up first, And so our attorney helped put this together where we would challenge this as far as we could go with it, which he assumed would be denying the license. And that's what we did. But the other towns backed it up, and they helped us pay for the attorney all the fees that would be involved. So we weren't taking that burden on all by ourselves. So,
Okay.
but it was his position, to not give in and to deny the license, which kind of got everybody a little concerned. Well, what happens to our cable TV? And he said, don't worry about that. It's not going to go anywhere. And in fact, we denied it for a while and finally came to terms, and it didn't really make any difference, except we kind of forced them to negotiate a better deal. So that was how we did that. I don't know.
They operated without a license anyway, right?
Well, they had a license. The difference in it was how public access was funded, and it was a pretty low. I think Wellfleet at that point was getting 2 to 3% of revenues, if that. I can't remember it precisely, but that was just unacceptable. We couldn't have done anything what we were doing now without it, especially with the Public Access Corporation involved.
Gotcha.
So.
Okay.
5% was our goal. We got 4.75, but it was after we did that, and there was press behind it. They got a lot of bad press, and finally they just saw we were just too much trouble to fool around with, and they just decided, okay, we'll do it. They were already doing it other places, so it wasn't like we're breaking new ground. It's just they were really just, I think, fighting. Because that's what they kind of do, that's the kind of negotiation position. But if you give in right away, then that's what I'm concerned about here. Is I don't know what they're.
There's nobody giving in. Yeah.
Good.
There's no appearance of anybody giving in that I've seen. In fact, like I said, I thought the attorney maybe had a stronger personality, but stronger personality that he needed to have. But I guess, he knows who he's dealing with. So.
Which attorney is that you call?
Oh, I have his name written down here. There appear to be two attorneys, and I'm not sure which one does which on our behalf, but they both.
Yeah, I think they're working together. Bill Solomon is the
Bill
the
Solomon
attorney.
is one of them. I might run into his name in my notes here from the last meeting, but.
Anyway, Bill Solomon was the guy who ran it for us in 2010. And that's when we really.
Still in it, though he does not appear to be the lead.
Right, he's representing the public access group. But they, basically it's the two Bills, it's Bill something or other, I can't remember his other name, but they're
it's Hewig.
Yeah. Hewig, yeah.
Hewig.
Yeah.
Hewig. Yeah.
Yeah. And as far as I understand, they're working together, but he's a much softer approach. Solomon will just take it to the wall. And, it's kind of an abrasive personality, but, it's what tends to work.
And he's not the one. It's Mr. Hewig who is the one that is definitely a strong negotiator there. So.
Yeah, well, he's the town's attorney, and Solomon is not. So it's like each town is actually, in the contract negotiation part of it. So, but Solomon is I'm glad he's in it, because he pushes hard, and I think Hewig knows that, and they work together. So as far as I know, because I haven't heard much of anything for quite a while. So.
Yeah.
So Maria, what can we do for you to provide you? How can we be a resource for you? I'll send you the data that we collected last fall. I'm happy to do that. What else? How else can we help you?
Well, one of the things that's been on my list to sort of look into, because it came up when I was, doing research, that there was a project apparently that the governor's office had considered to help fund cable access, and it sounds like there were two choices: either to fund it for out here or to fund it for
Western Mass? Yeah.
Western Mass. And they chose the Western Mass project, and there was something about it that didn't go well. And I'm wondering if you folks know anything about that.
I only know that they were picked over us, I think, because there was a higher concentration of low-income people there. Although there are a lot of low-income people here, it's just a density issue, like we've been saying. I don't really know anything about how it went. I didn't realize that it hadn't gone well because it was fairly.
And I can't confirm that either. That's sort of just what I've heard from people. So what was the actual project? Was it actually bringing the wire to?
It was a broadband access initiative sponsored by the state, and I think that they were running physical. I would have to double check this, but I think that they were running wires to places where there were none. And we at the time, and sort of still, there's a project here called Open Cape, which has been in the works for how long, Tom? 10 years? More?
About that, yeah, about 10 years.
About 10 years, which is a nonprofit initiative to bring broadband access to the whole Cape and to provide an alternative to Comcast. It's not viable yet. It still requires major municipal investment to become viable. There's some skeleton fiber laid, but you can't, it's not an option for residential use right now.
That skeleton,
It's being
skeleton,
used
that thing was-
townwide. It's being used in town buildings, but
Yes.
and it's a backup of, it started out as a backup if in case the cable went down. Open Cape would have their own wires, and that would be the backup for the state and municipal, needs, government, that type of thing. And they're still around. I still hear about them. I get emails from them. Right now, they're looking for more people to hook on, but it's slow going for them. They just haven't been able to do it. And I think it's the same group that's also working in Western Mass, but it may be a different organization. I don't know if, but that's where the principal money went. And I don't even know how well that's going, but that's where it was basically, as Mia was saying, that was a decision. That's where most of the higher degree of need is out there for.
Yeah, out in Western Mass.
For high speed.
Yeah, Open Cape seems to be kind of waiting for towns to decide to make the investment on behalf of their residents. And there was just an article in the Provincetown Independent about this, which I can send to you, but they found the data and it would be millions of dollars across the towns to make Open Cape a viable alternative to Comcast. So who knows?
Yeah.
People were looking at it as a way to, if they couldn't get Comcast, to get that instead. And that certainly has been a problem because it's a pretty high cost to kind of wire all the areas. The Comcast is very slow to wire because there's the business side of it.
Exactly.
We did put pressure on them and to do Wellfleet by the Sea, which they were not going to. We said that's part of our demands for a contract, and they refused to do it in the contract, but they did do a side letter to that effect, saying we will do it as soon as we can. And a lot of people said, well, that's not a real binding document, but they ended up doing it, but it took them a while to get to that point. So they just would not be bound by it.
Yeah, I get the impression some of that is somewhat a scheduling issue with them.
Yeah.
Just because we want more doesn't mean they're going to add more technicians.
Yeah.
That they're going to do what they can do without hiring more people to do the work.
Yeah.
That's the impression that I get.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, just curious about that because I had heard that come up. I mean, I've seen, I've seen some folks in Central Maine get some big grants from actually USDA economic development grants that help bring something more akin to Open Cape to, the area of Maine where I lived, as an economic development issue with great success. But those were federal grant dollars, and my guess is that's pretty dried up right now. It's not just.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it might be something we can try and have ready for the future if that opportunity ever becomes available, especially since we can argue that more every year this is more and more an economic development issue, right? Not to mention a personal safety issue to be able to have access.
Right.
But yeah, I think as of now we're not at the top of the list for federal grants.
No, we probably gonna need to wait until December if our
Here's
staff.
here's another little wrinkle in the thing is that really what we're negotiating is cable TV, not internet and not phone. They're not moved at all by your need for internet or phone. They just won't even talk about it. This is a cable television situation. So we've had people say we got to have high-speed internet, and that's mostly what people want. They can have their cell phones to do phone, a lot of them. But we just have to realize that we have no ground to stand on going for internet and phone. They just say, well, that's not important. And the problem with that is that people are now, or they're beginning to do a lot more of their cable TV programming over the internet. And how will that impact, how they figure out, the proportion of money from that. So it's a bit of a threat there. So.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. I gave up on, cable television largely just because, there wasn't anything good to watch anymore.
Yeah.
I didn't
But
want
the thing is that you can't get it for the internet. In order to get internet through Comcast, you have to have cable TV. That is the gateway to it. Yeah.
Right. I mean, they sell you a package as an individual family or an individual household. You buy a package that is much more cost effective than if you buy just one service from them. So that's how they get you.
But then it changes after a certain amount of time.
Yes, and they don't even let you know that it changes until you get your bill and you take the time to look at it and say, wait a minute, what's this? Where did this come from? How did this happen? And they go on, they put you through to another department. And if you have a deep discussion with them, they'll actually wind up giving you a better rate for your package. But you have to be persistent and just keep on pushing. It's a very strange setup that they have for households.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that.
Yeah, I went to a conference in Portland, Maine last November, and it was a conference of all the New England states sent a bunch of representatives from their towns and their cable advisory people to talk, to exchange ideas. It was a really interesting conference. I totally blanked on the name. But the biggest thing at that point that they were talking about was this issue of switching, how everything is happening on the internet and people are cutting their cable lines. And the cable companies are clinging to this definition of we provide cable, and the internet is a side benefit for you. And if you don't want us to provide cable, we don't have to provide anything. And so everybody, this was all New England, from Connecticut to Maine, or not Connecticut, whatever. It was all New England. And everybody recognized it as kind of the issue at the top of their list. And so it's not like we're not isolated in realizing that this is a big deal, but they've sort of like, okay, now that we've recognized it, how do we continue to put pressure on the companies? And there were, there's a lot of theories. We can call all of the telephone poles public domain right-of-way stuff, and we can bring up competition and, so people are strategizing. I don't know how much that's changed in the last 6 months, but it was definitely a big deal at that point.
I mean, on the technology side, there's still only one wire, correct?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And there was an act back in the 30s that gave the telephone companies all of the land that the telephone poles are run on as a public utility. And so they're allowed to do whatever they want with, whatever they want. They put up telephone poles. They're allowed to use that land because they're providing what we think of as a public service. And so now, is the internet not effectively the same thing? Should we not, have the same right of access across phone lines for internet, even if they don't want to give us internet? And so there was a lot of strategy to that effect.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, if you get cable, you get the option of having the internet and the phone service, but you can't get it without the cable TV portion of it. It's just, and that's built into the law. the Cable Act, really of 1984, kind of set this all up. And that was before you had the internet, really, of any version. And certainly telephone all came in after all that, but we're still bound by that kind of anchor,
Right.
which is the hard line that comes in. Yeah.
Right. And that's federal.
It's mandated by federal law, right?
Okay.
So it's kind of a tangled web right now. So we'll
Yeah.
see. Yeah.
Yeah.
And our committee does some other cool stuff too. I know you were been talking about that before. So
Tell me what it is. Tell me what you do.
Mia, I think I'll.
Well, up till a couple of years ago, we recorded very few committees in town. There was a lot of discomfort with the technology. There was a lot of discomfort in changing the way we did things. And over 2018 to early 2020, we went from recording 2 or 3 committees regularly to recording about 20, which was a really big deal and a really big achievement. And it was a huge, we got a ton of public support from people who said, you know, I've never been able to attend a meeting because I work, you know, I don't have a car, I don't have whatever, and now I can just watch it at home. And this was a service that most towns have provided as a matter of course since maybe the late aughts, and to sort of spring it into action in the past couple of years was really cool. And it was an adventure, wasn't it? I would
Absolutely.
characterize it as an
Still an
adventure.
adventure.
So Mia, how does that physically work? I mean,
Well,
what's the technology behind that? Like, are you there with a camera, or how does this work?
I used to be. We have one hardwired camera set up in town. It's at the Council on Aging, which is where our select board used to meet. Have you driven by the COA? Have you been in the building?
I have, but I've not been able to go in.
It's there is one big conference room, one big not conference room, meeting room, event room that can be split up into 2 smaller ones. And there are 4 robotic cameras wired into the walls. There's a little control room in the back. There's also audio that is partly wired into the wall and partly roll out and plug in. So we did all of the committees in there that we could. And then there were a number of committees who either didn't want to meet in there or couldn't because other stuff was happening in there, given that it's also a building that's shared with the Council on Aging and all of their program. And so when there were committees meeting elsewhere, which was either in the small conference room there, in the conference room here at the library, in the conference room at Town Hall, I would show up with a camera and some long microphones, and I would film them. And it was an adjustment for a lot of people, and we had people on both sides saying, I really want to see this. This is a public access right. I should have the right to see what's going on with these committees. And a lot of people on the committees saying, you know, I'm not comfortable with this. I'm not used to being recorded. I may not want to stay on this committee. I went before the select board 3 or 4 times to ask them to make it a policy to record, to mandate the taping of our regulatory boards. And they declined to do so. I got a lot of data. I got a lot of public support. And
is that still the policy?
there is no such policy. We don't have to record. We don't have to record anything.
Okay.
And
Right.
they,
So the only real law is there have to be minutes.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
The only thing on the books is that there has to be minutes provided.
Correct.
Posting of the meetings and such.
Posting the meetings, posting the minutes, exactly. And so a lot of people said, you know, the minutes are sufficient. Why should we need recordings? And besides the fact that every other town in the Northeast does this, there's a lot in recordings that can't be captured in minutes. You know, there's a lot of nuance of debate where you might have in minutes, they argued and then they voted 3-2. That doesn't really tell you what the context of the debate was. And of course, there's the whole issue of, you know, if yes, the meetings were open, but there are a lot of people here who don't have access to a car, can't drive at night, can't get childcare, work on the tides, you know, they were working in a restaurant, a lot of reasons why they couldn't attend a meeting in person. Now that has mostly changed very quickly because
I was going to say, if you had a 3-2 vote last time, how long ago was that?
no, October of 2019.
That's pretty
I
recent.
think it was October. I think so.
Yeah, it was October, November of 2019. It was, no, it was November. It was right after our last meeting because I collected opinions and data in our meeting, which was the 19th of November, 2019. And then I went before them in early December or very late November, and they voted it down 3-2. And
This
at
was
that point,
after fighting, this was after saying that we were violating conflict of interest law because by, you know what, I'm not gonna, we're being filmed.
Yeah, yeah. No,
okay, there was a lot of pressure for me to,
I can hear the voices in my head. It's fine.
yeah,
Can I just add one thing? I am the only person on the advisory board who is not an employee of the town. So at the last, I guess the last open meeting, physical meeting, I went to defend our position. It was on the agenda, got pushed way down.
I made it right there for like 3.5 hours.
Yes, I sat there until there was nobody left in the room.
Yeah.
You can look at the minutes and
You can look at the tape.
video. You can look at the tape, and there was a lot of discussion about privacy and what people can or will not say if they're being taped.
Yeah.
Were
Yeah.
also people saying that there was one comment about that the people who are chairing these committees work very hard and somehow will be turned off to being committee chairs if they're being taped. I'm not sure. I don't know how you equate the two. There wasn't a whole lot of logic, but potentially I was shut down and asked to go home. That's where we were with that. So
There was terrific resistance to
yes.
being videotaped, particularly by boards. The regulatory boards really were very resistant to it. You know, back when I was more involved in it, and also we're the only town practically on the Cape that doesn't have a town hall that does all the meetings. You know,
Right.
committee meetings, all that kind of stuff.
As
Yeah.
odd that they didn't build a council chambers into this building.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, in every other building, it is town hall, and they do all the different things that town.
Yeah.
Selectmen's there, and we don't. Our town hall is too small to do that, and we're also not live, which is another thing. And we've been working very hard to get live. You know, it was a lot of slow down stuff there. It was kind of like, why is this being such an issue? But we had the money, but for some reason, we couldn't get the technology lined up right. We tried microwaving, looked at microwaving, whether you could do that or not. But it needs to be a hard line from the COA to the library.
actually,
Is that, well,
Sorry,
I think
Tom,
it was
not
run,
to-
but it's not connected, right? At this point.
well, that was the last thing I did in March before we shut down, was we can now stream live from the COA over a web interface.
Over the web.
We just bypassed the hardline thing altogether. I was very excited about this, and I never got to use it. But the
Yeah.
COA is where our
Good.
hardwired cameras are, and I worked with a technician to install a piece of equipment that would allow us to live broadcast via the web, which we could. And I then worked with our broadcast service provider to make sure that we could integrate that web feed into our live TV feed on Channel 18. So it was all set to go. I never got to use it.
So Mia, it continues to be all set though. Like,
It does. So the day we go back, we can start up.
okay, yeah, we'll
Yes.
be able to do that if you choose.
Yes.
Was that tested out, Mia, for signal
It was
capability and
tested.
strength?
It was tested by Kevin and me, you know, on the day. It was never tested for actual use. I never had a board or committee in there. So when we tested it, it worked great. We weren't able to test it in a real setting.
Yeah,
But
so
we'll do many
It
tests
was a
again.
workaround, and it's a good that we have something now.
Yeah.
But we're way below what capabilities the other towns have in our region, and even on most of the Cape, on that level of having access to meetings. Right now, you know, me and I and basically would do meetings, one camera meetings. You know, go over to the library or the town hall or wherever they had these meetings, and that's how you got most of these committee meetings, because most of them were not at the
Okay.
COA.
So as of now, it's all changed because of Zoom, like I said, and the workflow now is Courtney or whoever the board secretary is records the Zoom meeting and puts it up on the town website. I download it and I add it to our YouTube channel, and then it's all separated by playlist, and that's I think, much more accessible and easy for people to find than on the town website. And it also requires no downloading. So that's where we've gone to. And I rotate the schedule in our Channel 18 programming. I post to our Facebook page just so people are updated on when I live stream our select board, our emergency management team, and our forums. Those are the ones that I live stream right now. So it's changed, and I think that a lot of boards who were uncomfortable with recording got pushed into it. We'll see how they feel if and when we go back to recording in person, meeting in person. And I know that there is at least one board that has declined to meet. I think probably to not have to deal with the recording issue, but they're being required to meet. So we'll see.
Okay.
They're being required to meet?
Yeah, they were called
With, for taping me?
Yeah. They
Yeah.
just haven't met in so long that they're now being asked to meet. So
Because right now, chairman of the committees can deny, they're the ones that are the gateway to recording. So if the chair says no, even if the committee says yes, it can't be done. So
I think that has changed
currently,
with the revision of open meeting law as it pertains to Zoom, because they
Okay.
used to be able to say we don't have to record it because it's an open meeting and anyone can join. And now, you can't join Zoom if you don't have a computer, right? So the recording and the theoretically being able, of course, then you have to go find a computer to watch it on. But I think that it is harder to not record now that it's all on Zoom, as I understand it.
Okay. Well, and people can watch from their phone.
People go exactly from their phone, or they can watch on TV. We're currently showing the Nauset Regional School Committee meeting.
mhm.
How exciting.
So Mia, are you saying that the chair doesn't have the authority to stop a Zoom meeting? Is what you're saying?
I don't know. I haven't
Yeah.
looked into it enough because they've all gotten on board with recording. But if it comes
Yeah.
up, we can research it.
Yeah.
See.
Well, it's progress. Anyway, it's great.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you all for sort of filling me in. Tom and Deb, good to meet you.
Good to meet you too.
Will I see you on Saturday?
Oh, yes,
I'll be filming it.
absolutely.
Tom and Deb and Jen will be there.
Yeah.
As you probably have realized, my husband is Fred McGee.
I wondered if there was a connection there. Yeah.
and
Okay.
he's the chair, as you know, of the finance committee. So yeah, we're kind of a town team.
Gotcha. Yeah, he and I had a nice Zoom introduction last week. We talked for a bit. So look forward to meeting your husband too. So,
Yeah.
It's a good committee, I'll tell you that. So I did some of the recording there, and they're really sharp.
well, big responsibility, and sounds
Yeah.
like they take it on willingly. So, some of my early observations are that they're just some super bright people that are really into Wellfleet that live here, and it's probably the strangest time ever to start a new job.
Yeah.
Probably.
Well, especially
Really?
this job.
Just
but
so you
everybody's
know, we're with you. We
Yeah.
don't have an axe to grind. We are, we're not looking for much of anything.
So, and everybody's been so kind and so generous with their time and so accommodating. I'm still in this funny housing limbo, which I hope to have sorted out next week. So
Good.
yeah, getting my feet wet in a weird way. I'm not a huge fan of Zoom, but I guess I'm more of a fan of Zoom than I am wearing a mask all the time. So
Yeah.
so far so good. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Maria. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us. It's really great to meet with you and to start working with you. And please let us know as a committee what we can do to help you as you go through the negotiations. And maybe we can meet again in like a month, and you can update us on where you
That's
are.
that's a great idea. Yeah, that's a great idea. I would, once I have a better sense of whether we have something that looks like it's ready to go forward to the Board of Selectmen, I definitely would like to see what the regular process is for getting your comments on it so that the board also knows.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it would be a meeting, and we would take a vote, and we would offer you our comments. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think you could call a meeting of us anytime you want to, if you have any
Yes.
need to
Absolutely.
know anything more
Yeah.
about it. So,
That's with
Yeah,
Zoom.
and I will. I appreciate it. You know, nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you, Maria. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
congratulations and welcome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Take
Good
care.
luck.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, that was awesome that we got to meet with Maria. That was
Yes, fantastic.
Is there any other business to come before the board before we adjourn? I think we have now covered everything on our meeting in 57 minutes.
I have a question.
Yes.
What are we, if anything, going to do about recruiting more board members?
We need one more at
Because
least.
I feel
That's a great question.
we're a little light on general public members.
We, I don't think the recruiting process has changed. I think you still submit a form to town hall. So if anyone's watching this right now, please join us. But we could ask Courtney to send out a blast probably to everybody who's on the town mailing list saying, hey, this, in addition to other committees, this is one that would really love a member, preferably of the general public, like you said, preferably someone who's invested in this issue as we go through negotiations. Do anyone else have an idea of how we can find people now that we don't see them anymore?
I
It
think
would be
that's a
great. I
good
mean,
idea.
I almost couldn't come this morning because I had a meeting with the Lower Cape library directors and that got pushed.
Yeah.
But I'm really worried as a person with that kind of job that I'm going to have a lot of those kinds of meetings, and I'm really worried about my availability in the upcoming future. But I also am feeling like this issue with cable is like way too important, and
Especially as we're literally in the middle of negotiations.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna write an
I mean,
email.
I'm not dropping off the committee. I just mean we need
No,
that there are people at the meetings,
Now we need to be able to have a quorum.
Yeah.
Yes, and in case Tom or I should have to recuse ourselves, although that wouldn't have to do with the license, but for anything else, it would still be good to have a fifth member.
Another question, does membership have to be a full-time resident, or can it be
Yes.
a
Yes,
non-
that could be a
Resident.
has to be full-time? Okay.
But we have more of those now, or at least more nominally.
Right now, anyway, who knows?
Right now, yeah, literally right now.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
right. If people have changed it to their full-time domicile or whatever, they can apply, I think.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I think Courtney is probably our best bet. I'll ask Jen Conjal too. I'm sure that there are other committees who are trying to figure out how to get people. I'm sure that we've lost people from boards as we've moved to Zoom, so I'm sure that there's more recruitment happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's probably has been quite a list of committee vacancies that they've been, just been going on for a long time.
Mhm.
So it is tough to get, and anybody who wants to volunteer can look at that list and say, oh, I want to be in that one, or, whatever. So it's
Right.
it's not just finding somebody interested in being on a committee, but we're competing so these other committees on top of it. So
Yeah.
We're not really a heavy lifting committee.
that's right. That
So-
should be a selling point for a number of
Yeah.
people there.
Right. That
Exactly.
should be, a plus for us.
And this is a really pressing issue for a lot of people in their daily lives. I mean, it's somewhat, I hope that people might be inspired to want to work on it. So, yeah. Okay, if anybody else has any ideas, let me know, but I'll start with Town Hall and see how they can help us reach out to
So
people.
Mia, are you hearing from the attorneys themselves, or are you just getting it through Mia, or not Mia, Maria
No,
at this
through
point?
Maria. Yeah, that won't get confusing. I think that we are not allowed to speak privately with the attorneys besides what we get from Maria. Like you saw, there was only certain things she was able to divulge as it was. And I haven't been able to contact anybody, but I think that's the case in all towns.
Yeah.
But that's why I wanted to have her update us as a quorum, which she did quite well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I hope that she said probably in the next couple of weeks. It's currently September 10th. Can we all peek at our calendars real quick and see if we can find an early October meeting? To which hopefully she'll have something to bring us.
Whoops. Where is my calendar? That's one thing I didn't join us with. Okay.
Well, we can adjust it, but let's say tentatively, how do people feel about Thursday, October 8th? What does that strike
Sounds
people?
good. I can't see it, but I'll check it after we're
Okay.
Me
and
too. I
confirm
have
and all
my
that. So.
calendar upstairs, which is crazy.
Jen, do you see anything conflicting on that?
It's good.
No. Okay, so let's say tentatively Thursday, October 8th, same time, 10 a.m. I'll
Okay.
send out a reminder, and if anybody needs to change it, we can change it, but let's,
You know what, though? Here's the thing. This is when the meeting of mine that got switched would probably be again, is on a Thursday morning.
how do you feel? What are you doing Thursday afternoons? Are you curbside?
I've curbside on Thursday
Okay.
afternoons, yeah.
So let's say perhaps not Thursdays. Wednesday the 7th?
As long as it's in the morning,
Wednesday the 7th at 10 a.m.?
yeah.
Wednesday, the 7th of October. I just got onto my calendar. Yay. That's good for me.
Okay, Tom?
I'm afraid to leave the meeting to look at it because I'm on cell phone right now.
Oh,
so
okay,
I'll
no
get
worries.
back to you on it.
Just
So
send me a
October
note.
7th at 10, I'll send you. I'll send up.
And I'll let Courtney, if you confirm, I'll let Courtney know that's when we're tentatively scheduling it, so Maria can hopefully put us on her schedule too.
Okay.
Um,
So you'll confirm it and then you can lock it in stone, right?
Oh, you know what, Tom? That's our board meeting. It's our Friends of the Library board meeting.
library board.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah. Well, we get done by 10:30 if
We get
we,
done by
but even
10:30.
that, but that'll be pretty tight. Well, we do that by Zoom as
We
well.
do it by
So,
Zoom also,
yeah.
so
So we might be able to do
And it's
10:30 or something.
it ends at 10:30.
Yeah.
Can we
So-
meet at 11?
Yeah,
Sure.
we can even do it at 10:45, 10:30, yeah.
Let's do it at 11 to give you time to have a coffee in between.
All
All
right.
right.
So tentatively Wednesday, October 7th at 11 a.m. And our meetings are usually an hour, so hopefully that works.
All right.
I'll let Maria know.
hopefully Maria will have some update for us, which would be
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I heard her say sometime in the next couple weeks she might have some more information. So let's hope that
Yeah.
follows through. Thank you all very much for meeting. Thank you for bringing your ideas and your information as always. Thank you, Tom.
You bet.
Anything
Good to see
else?
everybody again. So,
Yeah, it's really nice to meet again. We'll meet more regularly now that we have something to work on.
mhm.
Is there anything else come before the committee today before we adjourn?
Can't think of anything.
May I have a motion to adjourn?
I move.
Second? Someone
I'll
want to
second. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
All in favor?
All right.
400. We are adjourned at 11:05 a.m. Thank you
Okay.
very much, everyone. Be
Sorry.
safe.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Mia. Bye, everybody.
something else. No, wait. Who
Jen.
made the
Oh.
motion?
Jen made it and Tom seconded.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Okay. Bye-bye.